Welcome to Living a Life by Design. It's the journey back to you and living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. Did you know your accountability and possibility is by design? God designed a phenomenal life for you, gave you the gift of choice. Esther helps empower you to discover and pursue the purpose that is already in you. Are you ready to look at yourself and see your future? Then get back to what is really important in life and get in alignment with your true self. Stay tuned to Living a Life by Design. Journey back to you and start living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. It all starts now.
Hey everyone, welcome to another, series or another episode, because I was told I pronounced that word wrong, so I'm trying to say it right, to Living a Life by Design with me, Dr. Esther Graham. I'm so super excited that you made the choice to join us today. And today I am also excited about my very guest, Kimberly Boggerty. But before we bring her on and listen to her powerful story, I just want to share with you about my live event that was just a couple weekends ago. I believe it's been. It's going by so fast, guys. I've just lost track of days and times and everything. But my live event, the Festa della Donna, Living a Life by Design, was a couple weekends ago in Wilmington, Delaware. And I want to just thank everyone that showed up and played full out. It was a phenomenal weekend of transformation and of healing and dancing and having fun and networking and laughing and crying together. It was so, so good. And I'm so grateful to all of my guest speakers, you know, my beautiful co-host, Alicia Houston, and then, of course, Matt Gill, who not only coached me, but has just worked tirelessly to making sure everything was up and was just running perfect. And he also was a guest speaker. It's so powerful. And then, of course, Dr. Tracy Timberlake, who was, again, I keep using the word powerful. I have a larger vocabulary, y'all, but just it was just that good. It was epic. It was epic. That's another word. Yeah. And Dr. Tracy Timberlake was great. I cannot wait to introduce you guys to her who didn't get to make it, to let you see her on the virtual stage. And so it was great. Next year, mark your calendar. It's next year, June 26th through the 29th. We will be back in Wilmington, Delaware for the next live event, Festa della Donna, where we're changing lives one person at a time. You know, we're teaching people how to live a life by design, something that when we were born, from the day that we were knitted in the womb of our mother, you know, when we were created, we have been created with a plan, a design in mind. However, we get to choose what that looks like and what that feels like. And this is what I love about what I do and how what I'm doing in the world is helping people realize, guess what? You've got this phenomenal life and you get to choose how you live it. So today, right, brings me to my guest, Kimberly Boggerty, who just through her life and her journey and her experience has just created, and it's still in the creation, let's say, or the implementation of living her life by design and creating that that desired life that many times we don't even realize exactly where it comes from and what to do until we've gone through a journey. And sometimes it requires healing, going back and getting that little girl, getting that little person, that little boy, and going through the healing process. As you guys know, life brings us many things. But I love the phrase where I heard someone say, life doesn't happen for us or to us, it happens for us. Well, we many times hear people say life is life, and sometimes it's not in a positive light, or it's basically saying, you know, there's a lot of things going on with life. And this is also true. But life doesn't happen to us. It happens for us. So we can grow and so we can learn and so we could reach our next level and really live that life that I believe all of us desire. And that's a life of joy and peace and happiness and fulfillment, you know, that no matter what your challenges may be, that you can still live a fulfilled life. Listen, it's a journey. It's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. right? Which means that you keep going and you keep going until you get to where you want to be and you get exactly what you want. So I'm going to have Kimberly reintroduce herself, and we're just going to have a organic conversation. We've known each other for several years. She's absolutely power. I've seen her. She's, as a matter of fact, have been to Festa de la Donna. She even sang once because, guys, she's also a recording artist. Just one of her many, many talents, right? She is, and I want to say a biologist or a chemist. She's gonna, because I don't want to get it wrong, right? But she has, and the last time I spoke to her, I didn't even mention this. She has created her own natural hair products that have been in the stores, right? That's been in beauty supply stores. So guys, what I love about, I believe, what she does is that she's not limit herself to one thing, is that she realized that the gift that she has and what she's really been created to do. And now she's on this whole other journey as an author, which is like a whole other level. So there's so many things that go into that. So I'm going to have her reintroduce herself. Tell us, Kimberly, what you are doing in the world, and tell us who you are. And we will continue with our conversation. Everyone, let's just give her some love. If you have any questions as you're looking on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, wherever you're connected, make sure that you heart her up and show her some love. All right. So Kimberly, let's talk.
Hey, let's talk organically. Thank you so much, Dr. Graham. I'm just excited to be here. Like you said, we go way back. I think we're each at a different journey in our life where God just reconnected us.
And yeah,
I'm just excited to be on this journey, and I'm most excited to just have this organic conversation with you today. So, many of you may not know me. Many of you may recognize my name. I am Kimberly Boggerty. I live on the East Coast. I live in Delaware. I just first want to say I really don't talk about myself, so I don't I really don't have a go-to of how I introduce myself or how I talk about myself, because I just think it's a little uncomfortable. But where I am in my life, God is shifting me, and it's out of a place of humility rather than being prideful in my accomplishments and who I am. And a lot of what we do as women, we identify ourselves as what we do, right? I'm a mom, I'm a first lady, or I'm this, and we encompass all of those elements, but really, who are we within ourselves, right? And so that's where I am on that journey right now, and I'll talk about that more. But again, my name is Kimberly, and so many people have called me Kim for years, right?
Me too, Kim.
I know, and it happens, and so I don't say that to say anything directed towards you, but this is one of the whole points of even me reimagining and rediscovering who I am, right? So the God-given name that I was given as Kimberly, people ask now, or I may insert, call me Kimberly. And I've been called Kim for over 40 years, right? And it was such a change for me to walk into me as Kimberly, right? And God actually, I'll talk about this more, but God actually just said, you're Kimberly. Yeah. And so now I'm asking even my family members, right? Everyone, and I have another nickname, and that's in the book. So you'll have to get the book to find that out, right? But they call me Kim. And so now they're kind of like transitioning. They're like, Kimberly, they're like, oh, that sounds so sophisticated, right? And I'm like, well, that's the name that I was given. And it's, my book is called Get Your Weight Up, Sis. And it's, the subtitle is Rediscovering You Through God's Lens, right? So I'm at this point now where I'm rediscovering Kimberly. I'm rediscovering who Kimberly is. And it's been a wonderful journey. I'm a mother of 3 young adults now. I have an older son. He is 28, and he has a family. a wonderful daughter-in-law. He's married, and they have two beautiful boys. So I am a grandmother. And they're 2.5 and 1.5 years old. And I never knew I could experience this type of additional love on top of children. It's just that's a whole nother podcast, right?
Yeah. Well,
And then my daughter is in the middle, and she is 27. And then my youngest son is 24. And so I have young adults who are now walking and paving their own life. So to see them on their journey, as a mother, and now I can say a friend, it's just a whole nother journey that I'm experiencing and loving and enjoying. And so, by profession, by education, I'm a chemist. And so I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I have my MBA and another master's degree. By profession, I manage clinical trials for medical devices. And so, so those are some of the hats that I wear. And like you said, I am a recording artist. I recorded my album in 2011. I'm looking back and I'm like, God, that was 13 years ago. And they were all original songs, some of which I wrote and composed, and then I had a team. So all original songs, and it was titled I Know the Man. And that man that I was talking about is Jesus. Again, I'm not ashamed of my faith, right? And so I confess that in those songs. And, I still have people talk about, those songs. Someone just sent me a text yesterday saying how it's still blessing them. And I'm like, man, it's on, back in the day, it was on CDs, right? So, yeah. It's not on, people have asking, is it on iTunes or Spotify? And I'm like, no. So I'm dating myself, right? And so, yeah, it's really been a journey. And now, as we're getting into, what this podcast is about, we're going to talk about my book. It's a journey of healing. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of self-reflection, and a journey of next, right?
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that, the journey of healing, self-reflection, the journey of next. You said, about going, requesting that everyone calls you Kimberly. I think it's great because that's a part of redesigning, right?
Yes.
It's a part of redesigning your life and who you are. I say that, and so I think that's powerful. We in my last retreat, someone that went was a young man that went, and he just at the retreat he just went through this just really good, I like to say beginning stages of transformation. The reason I say beginning stages is because many times when we've gone through this journey called life, that we sometimes expect things to change, boom, boom, boom. Well, transformation is never one and done. We're already transforming. And so he's on this beautiful stage of transformation. And so I, heard from him, and he said, in my redesigning, he said, I want everyone to call me Edward because this now speaks to who he is. And I just think that's so powerful, because if that's speaking to you, you say, no, this is who I am, call me. I think that's great. I also think that even the part where you say, and this is how I believe as women, all of us, we brought up to not, we don't ever talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
What we do and our accomplishments. What I have found over the years, and that's because this is me as well, like, I don't really, it's been for me for quite a while, because still now sometimes I have to think, Kimberly, about, let me tell them what I do. Like, I struggle with my bio. I don't include a lot of things in my bio because I'm like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to sound, is there braggadocious or whatever that word may be, or, I don't want to sound. And so what I'm learning, as people keep telling me, you have to tell people what you do and who you are. What is, and so it's not really, so I've concluded it's not bragging on myself. It's not, but it's just saying, this is what I've gone through and this is what I've done. I have to tell my daughter that. I said, and that, you're a doctor, a physician doctor.
Yeah, that's right.
And my joke is, we have worked hard.
You better tell them you're a doctor.
And so sometimes she will actually go into the hospital and identify herself by her first name. And the nurse or another physician would say, it's Dr. So-and-so. And I said, yes, because, and I tell her, I said, don't forget, because I know her heart, like yours.
Yes.
Just her, I don't want, So I said, but just don't forget how hard you've worked. I said, you've earned it. You've earned it. So celebrate yourself and say, yes, this is what I've done. And if anybody actually thinks that you're being braggo, you're just being, then that's their issue and that you.
That's right.
Yeah, that's, you're being whatever words that they may use these days, but that's their issue and that's not yours because nothing was given to you. You earned it.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I want to celebrate you for that because I think that you've had a lot of great accomplishments and I've always admired that. So I say celebrate it and tell people, no, this is what, it's not who I am, but this is what I've done. And it created where I am right now. There's so many things that I'm this person who I am right now simply because of what I've done and what I've experienced.
Yes.
Yeah. So good. So powerful. So you told us the name of your book. I want you to hold it up so they can see where it says weight, get your weight on. It's W.
So you kind of see this way in the background.
Wait, it's right there. Yes, it's right up there.
This is the book, right? So, and it's in paperback, right? So I only have it in paperback, and so it's Get Your Weight Up, and WAIT is an acronym, and so we spoke about this before. Is that I don't want to give away what the acronym entails, but it's steps, right? It's steps to how to weight well. So many in this day and age, everything is, the get rich quick schemes, all of the, self-help books, how can I become a millionaire, microwave, right?
Weight.
How can I lose weight? And I don't want to say a certain drug or whatever, but there's this drug out there, this new drug out there. It's going to, drop your weight off. And, we have the air fryer now, right? So we have all this technology, and it actually dismisses us as human beings of learning how to wait. Even with children, when we're raising our children, we teach them wait, right? And so now in our adulthood, we never want to wait for anything. We're so impatient about things.
Microwave society.
Yeah, it very much is so. Yeah. And so when God gave me when God gave me this title, I didn't know WAIT was going to be an acronym, right? It was like, he was talking to me, and again, I'll kind of just rewind. I didn't set out to write a book. I throughout the, all of the accomplishments that I've made, that was never one thing that was on my bucket list to write a book, right? I never thought about being an author or anything. But during the time of a specific healing time for me and a healing journey, I was journaling. And I wasn't a great journal, right, person. And so, just before we go to break or whatever, and I'll come back and explain this more, I was journaling. And as I was journaling, God was speaking to me, and I was getting healed from some things. And he was like, this is going to turn into a book. And I'm like, no, it's not. This journaling is just for me. These are my secrets. These are my, outlets, that I'm sharing on pen and on paper so that I can look back and reflect where I've come from. Right. Yeah. And, he corrected me and he said, this isn't just about you. Someone is going to pick up this book and they're going to heal. And so I'll go into more about that on, really, what is this weight that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I absolutely love it because while it's an acronym, just the word wait has so much that goes with it. When you were speaking about, we live in this society where waiting isn't taught. Listen, y'all, before we go to a break, I have my grand love here with me. I have both of them. I just have one. And just today I was saying, I need you to wait. You know what I mean? And that's it, because they're just not, they want it now. I want this, we want it now. But that's what happens in the society. And can you wait? Can you wait? And so what does that mean? What does that look like? And by the way, we know that it means that it looks different for everyone. Right. But what's great about with that, just not knowing what the acronym, what it means, it's just saying, wait.
Yeah, you can pick up on that.
You can pick up on that. Let's take a break and we'll be right back with Kimberly Boggerty, everyone. Welcome back to Creating Your Desired Life. I'm so happy, or Living a Life by Design, both of them, right? And I'm so happy to have my wonderful guest, Kimberly Boggerty. And we are talking about a journey towards healing, a journey towards your next, a journey. It's a journey, guys. And so we have been talking about her book, Get Your Weight Up, right? And so we're going to continue that. So Kim, let's go. Kimberly, let's go.
Yeah. So, again, how I introduce the title in the book is it's a colloquialism. So the phrase "get your weight up." So everyone's heard that, right? And it's kind of like the "get your weight up" is kind of like our urban slang. So it's the W.A.I.T, right? They're like, man, get your weight up, right? So if someone, just talking to, the urban language or the slang, it's kind of like an encouragement. Someone is shrugging your shoulder. They're like, man, get your weight up. Or, man, you can do this, right?
Yes.
So this concept, when actually I was given, the title and it came to me, it came to me as W.A.I.T. And, God was like, get your weight up. And so he was saying to me, you're waiting for this answer, or you're looking for this answer, but you haven't done what I've asked you to do. Right. And so many times, just like I was talking about, with children, they want this. It's almost like, a young kid who wants to go outside, and all day, the parents told them you need to clean up your room. Right. Yeah. And so, so the child is ready to go outside impatiently, but they haven't followed the instructions, right? So you're not going to get the reward or the benefits if you haven't followed this first step. And that's kind of what God was saying to me, right? He was like, you want this, but you haven't done this. And he's like, get your weight up, right? And so that's where, it sat with me, right? And, then the breakdown, he just gave me instructions on what the W meant, what the A meant, what the I meant, and what the T meant. And again, anyone can pick up this book and get some nuggets out of it. But I don't hide, or I don't shy away from my faith, right? And so, my faith is, as a Christian, I believe, that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And so a lot of the, some of the steps to the acronym of the WAIT, are faith-based, but it doesn't mean that, it can apply to anyone else, right? And I'm a true believer that anyone who picks up this book, that it will be a tool or resource for them. And again, like I said, it's, rediscovering you through God's lens. You're also rediscovering yourself, right? And so, I had to ask the question, who is Kimberly? Outside of Kimberly being a mother, outside of you being a chemist, outside of you being, a psalmist, a singer, a songwriter, who are you? What is your makeup? What is your design? What does Kimberly like? What are your, little quirks and, all of that? And I had to rediscover. I had to do some self-reflection. And we all have shortcomings, right? So in this journey of healing, I first had to do a self-reflection. And I think one of the things that we miss in the healing process is to look at ourselves. What are our shortcomings? We can easily victimize ourselves, right? We can easily say, well, they did this to me, and this is why I reacted, or this is why I chose to do this. Right. But have you looked yourself in the mirror? Have you done some self-reflection, right? And that's the hard part. That's the hard part, Dr. Graham. It's like, we have to sit in it. We have to sit in who we are. And that's the first step. Once we take that step to do a true self-reflection, that opens doors for one, for you to forgive yourself. Mm-hmm. Two, for you to forgive others, and then begin your healing process. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
I want to go back to the subtitle of your book.
Yep.
It says rediscovering you through God's eyes, which leads into what you're speaking with. Once you open up and you self-reflect, and it opens you up to healing. I think as you're rediscovering you through God's eyes, I think the first part is that you have to rediscover you first.
That's right.
The reason I say that before God's eyes, because I believe that He already knows who we are. So,
right.
So, I think that the first part is that which is why you have to sit with yourself.
That's right.
You really have to come to terms with who you are, seeing yourself, right? 100%. Once you begin to see you, the person,
yes.
Who are you?
Yes.
Who is this person?
Yes, 100%. And, again, I dedicated, and I learned so many things, as I began writing this book. Full disclaimer, I had no clue how to write a book.
Yeah.
No clue whatsoever. I'm good with words. I'm good with conversation and striking a conversation with people. But to actually write and document something where other people would read, that's a whole different game. That's a whole different, platform. And, as I was just being guided and instructed, one of the parts of writing a book is, who do you dedicate this book to? Right. And so, typically it's, you dedicate it to, a friend, or dedicate it to, a past loved one or something like that. But I dedicated this book to two people, right? I dedicated this book to the little girl who lives inside.
Yes.
Right.
I love it. Yes.
And I also dedicated it to the woman who lives inside.
Yeah.
Because so many times we forget the little child that still lives within us.
So true.
So the little child is the one that strikes, your aspirations and your dreams. That the little child is the creative one, the one that says, I can do anything, right? I can do this. The adult side of us is like, whoa, time out, hold on. We want to dissect everything, right? And so I dedicated it to the little girl in me, and now the woman in me. And I didn't say this, but now it's the whole woman, the healed woman, right? Because we can't get whole and we can't get healed until we reach back to that little child, that little girl, that little boy. They still live inside of you, right? And so, along with that, I had to, just like I said, I had to sit with myself, and I had to go back to some things of, why have I made some of the decisions that I've made in my adulthood? And it was because there were still open wounds from my childhood, childhood trauma. And when people now talk about, used to talk about childhood trauma, it was like, oh my God, it's taboo, it's bad things. No, it could be the smallest things.
It could be the smallest thing.
I talk about, and it's a funny story now, because I made it in a way that the reader would laugh at it. But there's a story that I tell in the book that happened in my childhood, but it impacted the decisions that I made as an adult, right? And it's a funny story, and it's titled it's chapter 2 of my book, and it's called The Spelling Bee, right? And it's about my experience in a contest of a spelling bee. But there's so much more that I intertwined into that chapter that speaks about my adulthood, right? And we don't realize, some of the impact that our childhood experience has, until we do some self-reflection, until we get into counseling and therapy, right? And it was just an amazing experience for me to reach back to that little girl who was traumatized, and now to where she is, in her adulthood. And so, I wholeheartedly advocate, for those who are on their healing journey and that path. It looks different for everyone. However, like I said, the first thing I would start with is, really forgiving yourself and opening up those areas that you have closed, that you don't want to talk about, because that's where the healing needs to take place.
So 2 points I want to bring out. That one is that anything that's buried alive is not dead. And so eventually it will come up. Anything buried alive is not dead. So it will eventually come up. And so so when we go back to get that little girl, let's say, or that little boy, that little human being, we go back to get them. It's necessary because there are some things it's just not dead. And here's how you know it's not dead. First of all, it may come up at the most inopportune time. It comes up eventually. But here's what it is. So we're making adult decision based on our trauma from being a toddler. So, right? And so here we are, we're adults, but we're making our decisions based on when we were a toddler or a preschooler or, a school age or even a teenager. That's what, and we don't realize it.
That's right.
And so that many times is what prevents us from really rediscovering who we really are.
Absolutely.
And going back and identifying some things so we could be on that road to healing. See, the healing doesn't really become complete, or you really can't begin that journey until you decide to address what's still alive. It is not taboo.
It's not dead.
Absolutely not taboo. We have to talk about it. We have to look at it. What happens sometimes is that I believe that we're afraid to look at it.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of the pain or the hurt. We don't know what we're going to do. We're afraid of the exposure. We're afraid of all of those things. When I was at my live event, one of the things I actually, and I never have spoke about it before, was when I was almost raped. I say almost because it was that close. I fought and I talked about it. That's my first time really bringing it to the forefront so others can hear what has happened. And that's after, I prayed about it, thought about it, and I was like, okay, God, I'm going to share this very private story. And I talked about how I literally fought for my life and barely got away after they were all over me to where I was able to get away. But that was something I buried for years. And this happened from when I was a teenager and in high school.
Yeah.
And not tell anyone. So that means that my parents, no one knew. I just remember I went home, I took a shower. I took a shower for like 2 hours, just scrubbing myself. Because I felt so dirty. I realized that there were some things that I thought some things I reacted to, some decisions I made based on what I experienced back then.
So true.
Right? And here it was for a while, I thought, I'm over that.
Yep, it's in the past.
It's in the past. It's you leave the past in the past. I agree. You leave the past in the past, but you do have to go and identify the past.
That's right.
When it says forgetting those things that are behind and moving forward, listen, forgetting means you don't let it stop you.
That's right.
Forward. That to me means you address it, what happened, and then you move forward. Yes, once I address it, once I go back and I get that little girl, then I can also release that little girl.
That's so true.
I can release it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. And, I think about that image of, we've seen it, of the little girl is standing in the mirror.
Yeah.
But the reflection that she sees is the woman who she is, who she will become. Right. And again, we have to, like you said, we have to reach back. We have to reach back to that child that still lives within us, right? And say, it's okay. It's going to be okay. These wounds that are going to be reopened is now you're going to heal from it, right? And there's a chapter in my book where I talk about, having the, imposter syndrome, right? Based on what we've been through, now it's to a point where you're in rooms and you're like, should I be here? Am I qualified to be here? Because now we're still thinking of what happened to me or what transpired, right? We're shrinking ourselves. Nobody sees us shrinking, but we're shrinking ourselves, right? And I had that for a very long time. Even in my profession, even being, a professional Black woman in the science, in the science realm or whatever, it was very challenging. For me, a lot of the boardrooms that I sat in, I was the only female, and I was the only person of color. I was the only African-American woman. And I didn't realize how much even that impacted me in my young profession, where it stemmed all the way back to my childhood.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome. And so then I talk about having an identity crisis. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of things, a lot of titles that we use, we mistakenly use them as that's our identity.
Yeah, right. That's a problem. It's
yeah.
And sometimes even our experience that we've gone through, we use that is our identity.
That's
so
right.
I'm not worthy. And so, I'm not good enough. So this is why this is happening to me. This is why that is. And all of that is really a lie. I like to say it's a lie from I believe in heaven and hell. So I like to say it's a lie from the pits of hell. And so, in other words, someone has lied to you. You're lying to yourself.
That's right.
Because what you have to remember is that from the day you were created, you were always worthy.
Always. Oh, I love that. Always.
You were always worthy. Always worthy.
Always.
And come in and embrace your worthiness.
Yes. Yes. And, and that's what I'm saying, the rediscovery, it's, just like you said, God knew us from the womb, right?
Yeah.
The rediscovery isn't for God. The rediscovery is for you. Just like you said, that's why I said, you have to sit with yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And rediscover who you are in the destiny and the purpose that you were designed to walk in. And so, in my book, it's 10 chapters, right? And again, I use the colloquialism of get your weight up, right? As still an encouragement. But when I thought about the title, the first thing that came into my mind was a boxer, right? A boxer has to get their weight up, to get in that ring and fight this opponent, right? Sometimes, and I researched the process of a boxer that they have to go through. Either they have to, depending on their weight class, right? So they either have to gain weight, they drink lots of water, or they have to lose weight. They go on like this, this fast or this diet, right? And it's quick.
Yeah.
So again, we're talking about
Very
like,
quick. Yeah.
we're talking about microwave, right? It happens very quick. And so once I started kind of studying, this is going to be interesting to the reader, because in the book, the stories that I tell are in rounds, right?
Yes.
So there's 12 rounds that I talk about my experience and my journey from, the little girl to who I am now. And there's victories and there's challenges in those rounds. And I learned the different hits. There's an uppercut here and there's a jab here. And then there's a combo here or whatever. And I was like, I should take up boxing, And so, to the reader, they're really just going to enjoy, reading my personal stories that I've used in, round, like, oh God, let me see what happened in round 5. And did she get up? Was it a knockout? And so, that's just a play on the Get Your Weight Up, Sis, that I kind of added to the book for the reader.
I love that, because as you said earlier, is that the book isn't just for, it's a faith-based book, but it's a book that can help anyone. So I guess what I'm saying to those of you, that are listening to this podcast, don't not get the book and read it because you're saying, well, I don't have the same belief system as Kimberly or even me, right? Because the book really isn't about your belief system or my beliefs or my belief system. It is about your healing.
That's right.
It is about you rediscovering who you are and going on that path to healing. And what Kimberly is doing is sharing her journey.
Yes.
Right. And you can take the bits and pieces of the nuggets from the rounds, because who hasn't been in a round to where you were knocked down? You were knocked, okay? Who hasn't done that? Come on now. Right. We've done that. And I think that's what, and so you have to really see that.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be able to read that. So you have to make sure you get it. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back for closing. Welcome back to Living Your Life by Design, 365 days of purposeful living. And we are here with Kimberly Boggerty. Make sure that you hit her up and you love on her, and make sure that you get her book, which is on Amazon. So please do not hesitate. Grab the book, read it, and then reach out, because you may have some questions that only she can answer for you. So Kimberly, let's just finish our conversation. And then again, I want you to tell everyone, how could they get your book again? How could they reach you? And what is something that they could take away today to begin that journey of healing?
Yeah. And so, just to kind of, recap everything again, this book is, I won't say it is a self-help book, right? But this book will provide some insight to you on your step of what is your healing process? What does your healing journey look like, right? And so there are many tools that I actually talk about. I talk about therapy and counseling. I talk about having, a mentor. I talk about, having, that accountability partner, right? Whether that, partner is, a prayer partner or somebody who is just a listening ear. So there are several things, just like we said, I think that any reader will be able to pick this book up and say, you know what, I'm on this healing process of rediscovering who I really am, in spite of people telling me who I am and because of what I've done and things like that, right? So many, in this culture, we're quick to slap a label on somebody, right? Based on what their victories or their challenges. And a lot of times, people think, victories and success, is a easy road, but it's a very heavy weight. It's a very heavy weight because now, you may have people who want to, emulate you. You may have people who are looking to you and, as soon as, there is a challenge in your life or whatever, now you've let them down. So, it's, the cost, is high either way. And, my thing is, getting to that journey of your healing process, I keep going back to it, is you have to decide to work on yourself first and not point fingers at systems or people or the culture, right? Because we're quick to point our finger at the system. Well, it's because of the system, you know what I mean? And, we can always say, we always go back to, you're not the product of your environment, right? That's not that. If you decide that you want to make that change, and we're not negating, what you've been through, we're not negating any hurt, we're not negating any abuse, but when you decide to step out and heal for yourself, then that's what I'm talking about, right?
And become the writer of your life, the author of your life. Write your book.
Right. That's right. And one of the things that I say in my bio is that don't allow anyone else to write your narrative.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and I'm not talking about just because, if you want to write a book or if you aspire to be a writer, I'm talking about in your life. Don't allow anyone else to write your narrative, right?
Yeah,
you are you, right? And you best, right? Outside of the creator, who made you. So that's what I is. And so one thing that I would want the listener to take away from today is that, ask yourself, what are your best life goals, right? In your healing process, what does the best version of you look like?
And what does the best version of you look like doesn't mean that the old version of you was bad.
Absolutely.
Right. So, yeah, that's a great question. What does the best version of you look like? Write it down. What does it look like?
Yeah.
And what does your healing look like?
That's right. And that calls for reflections, right? And so, when we look back, we can always be a better version of ourselves, right? But not negating who, what we've experienced or what we've come through. And so, that's, in a nutshell, that's what I talk about in my book. You will enjoy the stories, you will laugh, you will cry, and some will just get you right upset, right? And you'll start to reflect, about your own stories, right? But then there's steps to, hey, how do I get past this? How do I get my weight up how do I wait well for the next journey of my life? And they could be different journeys to a lot of things, right? But how do I wait well? And I'll give you to end this, I'll give you one of the acronyms. So the W, actually, I'll give the A. The A stands for anticipation, right? So a lot of times when we talk about waiting, we want things in a hurry, right? And we're anticipating, we're hoping. And so I want to tell the reader to continue to anticipate and hope for what that next is in your life, because it is coming, right? It is coming. And as soon as you decide that you want to be whole and you want to heal, that anticipation and that hope, when it comes, it's going to blow your mind.
I love it. Reminds me of the song "Anticipation is making me wait." An old song. So that's like it's perfect though. With the acronym, the A as anticipation, and then the wait, because the song says anticipation, isn't it? It's making me wait. Y'all might not know. I can't remember.
I haven't heard it, but I am going to Google it.
Google it. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So that I just remember. I can't remember who sings it. I don't know if it's like the Bee Gees or but it's way back there. And I just always remember that song, anticipation is making me wait. So I'm not a singer, but I do make a joyful noise. And so, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So powerful. You guys don't forget to look her up. It will be all of her information will also be on the website. It will be on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and you continue to tune in every second and fourth Fridays of the month for powerful, juicy, delicious conversation on how you can live a life by design with living 365 days of purpose. And I cannot wait to see you again. I'm Dr. Esther Graham. Make sure that you email me, send me your questions, or what other episodes would you guys like to talk about? Let me know and let me get the guests and we will talk about it. I'm committed to you and to your transformation. Take care. God bless.
You have been listening to Living a Life by Design, the journey back to you, and living 365 days of purpose with host Esther Graham. Listen or watch live every second and fourth Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Discover that what is possible is already in you. God designed a phenomenal life for you. Esther helps you ignite that energy behind your personal journey for a deeper joy and peace, living 365 days of purpose. For more information on living a life by design, visit fddwomen.com.